Y'all hear that? Uh-oh. Here come Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she's pissed. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, it's your girl Tabitha. Welcome back to the channel. Marjorie Taylor Greene is pissed off with her fellow Republicans. Why is Marjorie Taylor Greene pissed off with her fellow Republicans? Because she put up a resolution to try and censure Rashida Tlaib. And Republicans just don't have time for the games that Marjorie Taylor Greene is trying to play. She is trying to say that Rashida Tlaib incited an insurrection when Jewish Americans, probably some Palestinian Americans and other Americans all went to the Capitol to protest the United States standing in alliance with Israel. I guess Rashida Tlaib had said some things, and Marjorie Taylor Greene had honed in on Rashida Tlaib. You know, she's been after the squad since before she got into Congress. She has been attacking them. She has tried to incite racist attacks towards them. Y'all know Marjorie Taylor Greene is a stochastic terrorist, and you'll see her, you know, doing her stochastic terrorism thing throughout me reading these tweets that she put out over on Twitter, because like I said, she was pissed. She was unhinged, and she was attacking anybody who stood in her way of that censure. Because what happened? It failed. They tabled it. Rashida Tlaib will not be censured. So, like I said, she went on this rant, this unhinged rant over on Twitter. I've got all of her tweets. Let's read them, shall we? So, after the Republicans voted to table Marjorie Taylor Greene's resolution, she tweeted, "List of feckless Republicans that voted with Democrats to table my censure resolution against Rashida Tlaib. This is why Republicans never do anything to stop the communist Democrats or ever hold anyone accountable. Pathetic." And as you can see, she lists the Republicans who voted alongside Democrats to stop the censuring of Rashida Tlaib. And this is where I call Marjorie Taylor Greene a stochastic terrorist. She knows other violent racists follow her. She knows people like the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, the 3%ers. She knows they all follow her because they are like-minded. White supremacists, hateful individuals, they're all like-minded. And so her putting this list of all of the names of the Republicans who voted alongside Democrats is her inciting violence towards these Republicans. Google stochastic terrorism, and that would be Marjorie Taylor Greene. She goes on to say basically that here is the list of the Republicans that did not vote. So the Republicans who refused to vote on the resolution, she is also putting them in harm's way, listing their names so that her violent followers will attack them any way, shape, or form, whether it's calling their offices and threatening them, showing up at their hometown offices to threaten them, sending them threatening emails, anything of the sort. This is what stochastic terrorism is. It's an individual who puts another individual in harm's way by sharing information that invites violence through that individual. She goes on to say that Van Orden changed his vote in the record. I don't know. He originally mistakenly voted yes, and then he said it was intended for him to vote no. So she's also putting him in harm's way. She goes on to tweet, when a terrorist attack happens on our homeland, just remember that Republicans couldn't even censure Rashida Tlaib, a pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist, Israel-hating member of Congress. That's the message heard all over America tonight. I didn't hear that message. However, I heard that message coming from people who follow her, people who are on the right, the MAGA supporters, Republicans. Yeah, they were the ones that attacked our country. They were the ones that attacked the Capitol, and they did it out of the behest of Marjorie Taylor Greene and all of these antics that she's currently doing now. Why isn't Marjorie Taylor Greene a white supremacist terrorist in this country? Why is she still roaming around free, sitting up in Congress, still allowed to do this? She goes on to tweet, must be great to be a Democrat. They all stick together to destroy our country and cover up each other's lies and stand unified to protect Tlaib Hamas caucus. Who's covering who? Who are the criminals in Congress? We all know who they are because we've seen their records. We've seen their behavior. We've seen their criminal activity, and it's over in the Republican Party. This is why when someone gets down in my comments and says both parties are the same, clearly to me, you are not worth the air that I breathe, and I don't want you in my space. If you aren't capable of seeing who the problematic individuals are and what party they represent, I don't want you in my space. No way, no how. So when you get down in my comments and say both parties are the same, I know that you're delusional. I know that you're in the comments to be an antagonist. I know that you aren't taking what we are seeing seriously, and you are not wasting my time. No, it is Republicans who are covering up for other Republicans. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who was meeting with Oath Keepers and Proud Boys, and Donald Trump, who was also meeting with Oath Keepers and Proud Boys. Lauren Boebert, who was giving tours around the Capitol to Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. Josh Hawley, who knew what his role was as far as January 6th. Ted Cruz, they're all over in the Republican Party. And who is covering for who? Hell, they're all covering for George Santos. Every last one of them who voted to keep George Santos in Congress, they're covering up for a criminal. Show me where that's going on in the Democratic Party. That one congressman that was just indicted, his ass was indicted for his criminal activity. Who's been indicted for their criminal activity over in the Republican Party other than George Santos? George Santos has been indicted, and they still are covering for him, still saving him, still keeping him in Congress. She goes on to tweet, you voted to kick me out of the Freedom Caucus, but keep CNN wannabe Ken Buck and vaping, groping Lauren Boebert, and you voted with the Democrats to protect terrorists to leave. You hate Trump, certified Biden's election, and could care less about January 6th defendants being prosecuted. Baby, she is not happy. She goes on to tweet, censure in Congress is free speech to condemn another member's actions and words speech. Refusing to censure is not defending terrorist Tlaib's freedom of speech. It's also her to continue. Until we force Dems to live by their own rules, nothing will change, and you know it. She goes on to tweet. She's going at it with Chip Roy in this tweet. Chip Roy says is speaking. She's going off, so Chip Roy is basically telling her to be quiet, shut up, whatever. And so her and Chip Roy was going at it or something like that. And he says, tell her to go chase so-called Jewish space lasers if she wants to spend time working on nothing. She responds to Chip Roy saying, oh, shut up, Colonel Sanders. How kindergartner of her. You're not even from Texas, more like the DMV. What? Chip Roy's career exists of working for politicians, working for campaigns for politicians, and being a politician himself. Unity Party all the way, which is why you will never hold anyone accountable. Marjorie Taylor Greene, what does your career exist of? Spouting conspiracy theories. You also are working with other politicians. You are currently working for a politician, that would be Donald Trump, working for campaigns for politicians. You've worked with the Donald Trump campaign. You've worked with other congressmen and their campaign. Girl, what? You know what? I'm not going to argue with stupid. I'm just reading the tweets. This is the next tweet. Until you force the enemies to live by the same rules, they're going to keep stomping our faces in the pavement. Chip Roy will be reciting his powdered wig soliloquies as Americans are marching to the firing squad. I agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene on this point. Until you force the enemies to live by the same rules, they're going to keep stomping our faces in the pavement. It is way past time for our enemies like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald Trump and Lauren Boebert and Matt Gaetz and Josh Hawley and Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham and Jim Jordan and all the rest of them. It is way past time for them to be forced to live by the same rules. They all need to be arrested for their participation into what went down on January 6th. She goes on to tweet out the definition of feckless. Marjorie Taylor Greene, this is a term that your ass just learned. She goes on to share a news article from Salon, and she captions it by saying the DOJ has also labeled us terrorists. You are, Marjorie Taylor Greene, the whole damn crew. All of you are terrorists. Do you not understand the term terrorist and what it means? On a daily basis, you participate in stochastic terrorism. All of you, participate in stochastic terrorism. You are a terrorist. But don't worry, I'm sure 23 Republicans will fire off strongly worded letters and media hits instead of censuring terrorists Tlaib or taking any measurable action of accountability to stop the left from sending us to re-education camps. That was the end of her rant. Just her having her panties in a bunch, it works for me. Baby, she is hot like fire with these 23 Republicans. And I don't feel sorry for them. They're certainly going to get hateful telephone calls. They're going to get hateful emails. They're going to get DM messages with threats, all of the sorts. But this is what happened when you accepted these terrorists into your ranks, when you welcomed them in to perform all of their terroristic activity. Yeah, now you're suffering from that same terroristic activity that they put on to everybody else. I don't feel sorry for you. You get what you get. Y'all let me know your thoughts. I'll see y'all in the next one.